Okay, let me go back to Jam. Let me jam a little bit. Let me jam a little bit. Someone say jam. Let's jam a little bit. Let's jam a little bit. So, the servant of Saul says that we are going to appear before this altar. What are we appearing with? It's not the issue of how much, it's the principal issue. Are you following me? Someone says it's not how much, it's the principal issue. Let me take it further. Are you also aware that when these two guys arrived at the presence of Samuel, and when they asked where is the seer, and they were shown the seer, are you aware that when they arrived at the presence of Samuel, are you aware that the coin issue was not discussed? Are you aware? Do you have understanding? The coin issue was not discussed because in Israel there are things that are no longer issues. To us as the church, there are issues. When they arrived before the presence of Samuel, the coin issue was not, it does not mean that the coin was not released. The coin was released, but there were no discussion on coin issues. There is a difference, what's it? There is a difference between teaching you to convince you to give, and you giving out of knowing a principle, or giving revelation with regard to giving. Coin issues were not discussed when these two guys arrived, because some things are supposed to be given, some things are supposed to be normal. What you call an item on Sunday morning, to some people it has become a lifestyle. It need no verse, it need no reminder, it need no teaching. It's a lifestyle. Why do you need to be encouraged to worship? Listen, a platform for now. Word of encouragement. Have somebody encouraging. Word of encouragement. Why do you need that? Why do you need that? You've got to cut that away from your churches as well. And at some stage, you must also cut away begging people to give. Because properly and kingdom-wise, coin issues should no longer be an issue. The two guys are like, the coin issue is not discussed. He says, I've got a coin in my pocket. But when they arrive, they don't discuss the coin. Because some things are what given. And let me take it further. Are you also aware that Jesus never spent a great deal of time teaching about tithing in the New Testament? Why should you spend a great deal of time teaching what is not an issue to these people? He emphasized what was an issue to them. Tithing, giving, offerings were never an issue to most people. And that's why you take it around and coin it around and say, it was not a New Testament issue. I know you feel it. You're getting it twisted. I follow you. So the two guys, as someone said, the coin issue was not discussed. The coin issue was not discussed. Now, how do you behave when you step into the altar that carries the nations that are helpful to you? How do you behave? Here is a man who carries national grace that liberates nations and that guards the nation, that watches over the nation. How do you behave in the presence of that man? Follow. Some issues that are non-issues should not be overemphasized over and over. Samuel never said, I'm Prophet Samuel. Give to the prophet, lay at the altar, give thou shalt be given. He never had moments like that. The discussion was never about coins, because these were non-issues. Look at it and say, these are non-issues. Let me take it high. Let me take it high. Some practices must just be done without noise. There's a whole lot of noise in our churches. There's a whole lot of noise in our pulpits for things that should not be non-issues. That should just become, a practice without noise. They should become a culture. Coin issues were never discussed because they were a culture. Let me box you. Can I box? Let me box box, let me box, let me box, let me box. Put you in a corner now and box. Watch. Whenever there is noise, somebody say noise. Whenever there is noise with regard to issues of giving, coin issues, you must know there are immature people, there are people who are not born again in that space. Here. Amen. Here it is, the servant. It's not even the son of Kish. He's a servant in the house of Kish, but he already knows these practices. He's having all the reasons to say, after all, now I'm just a slave in the house of Saul. So I have all the reasons of not to practice a principle. There is no excuse of practicing a kingdom principle. No excuse. But watch, whenever there is noise with regard to coin issues, you must know you are dealing with people who are not born again. Because coin issues or giving issues are heart issues. When you have people who are battling with the issues of being, generous and giving, you must know the heart has never been to the altar. If the heart has been laid at the altar, giving should have not been discussed. It should become a culture practice with no noise. Look at yourself and say, are you born again? So, when there is noise with regard to matters of giving, you must know you are dealing with a church of people who are not born again or immature. If they are born again, they are not mature. I follow. So, some things must be practiced with no noise. When the two arrived at the presence of Samuel, there was no noise with regard to the coin. Jesus never made a great deal of giving in the New Testament. Look at all his teaching. There's very few instances where Jesus speaks about giving, because some things must be practiced with no noise. I follow. Now follow. We studied Saul, the first king of Israel. So the coin issue should become a non-issue. Yesterday we spoke about this, that when Samuel met Saul, Samuel had dreadlocks, but Saul could not discern and recognize that this is the seer. He still asked the seer, are you the seer? But the young girls who go to draw water recognize that this is the seer. Can you imagine? And don't forget the background of Saul, because Saul is coming from a rich family. We talk to rich people. You must understand that wealth has a way of clouding your spiritual discernment to a point where you will lose touch. You will lose touch with regard to spiritual matters. Saul had no clue who Samuel was, even though all outward signs were there, but he still could not discern. But young girls who were going to draw the water, they could easily recognize that this is the seer, this is the seer. They even directed the man that he is ahead of you. When he gets ahead of him and met the man, he was still having no clue. Why? He's a rich boy. Nothing wrong with riches, but there's something wrong with riches that eats up all your spirituality. Look at the rich person next to you and say, nothing wrong with riches, Paul. Nothing wrong with billions of rands, nothing wrong with millions, nothing wrong with money, nothing wrong with wealth. But there's a problem with wealth that starts to eat up your spiritual appetite. Nobody is against you getting rich. Get rich. But you must ensure that the riches that you have does not cause you to lose discernment of spotting the prophetic grace. I mean, a national prophet, you can't pick him. A man with clear locks, with the Nazareth vow, clear locks, you can see that this is the seer. And even if I might not even discern prophetic dimensions, but at least the outward locks are telling his word. But still, you have no idea. Why? Wealth. Get wealth, but also be spiritual. Are you following? Follow. So he lost touch, but the girls were in touch. Okay, so here is what happens. So when Samuel meets Saul, God says that here is the man I spoke to you about yesterday, that tomorrow I'm going to send to you a man whom you must anoint as the king of my people. He does not know that God has already discussed him with the prophet. Put your hand in the heart and say, I'm being discussed. Yes, there are people who are discussing you with God positively. And upon your arrival, grace gets activated. There are people that when they are around, I teach very well. And there are people who are around, heaven shuts. There are people that when they are present, their presence activates strings. Not that you get to shine. No. It has nothing to do with it. The presence of Saul in the space of Samuel activated prophetic strings. And when that man arrived, remember there were people in that city. There were girls in that city. Samuel was walking. He was walking, and as he walks, going up to the high place, God said nothing about all the people he's meeting. But when this man arrived, grace gets activated. God says, aha, this is the man I was discussing you with, concerning him yesterday. There are people whose presence activate grace that is sitting upon leaders. And they start to see things, and they start to prophesy, and they start to hear. Then there are those that, I don't get it. There are those that when they are around, everything shuts down. You talk football with them, nothing divine. Follow. So he comes, and then grace gets activated. Someone say, grace gets activated. Watch. And the discussion of yesterday resumes. Here's another thing. There are things that God discusses with us and He passes it. There are discussions that goes on scripturally now between you and God. And then the discussion gets done. It does not mean that it's over. It means that it's just shelved. After a little while, it continues. And there are so many discussions that the Lord is interested in continuing them with you. When I say that again, there are many discussions that have been shelved, but He wants to continue them with you. Follow. So, when He arrives, grace gets activated. The arrival of some people activate grace. We can really teach on that for the whole night. Here's another thing. Samuel gets to Bethlehem in the house of Jesus. 7 sons of Jesus comes, there's no king amongst them. And Samuel asks, is there still a son who is not here? They say, yeah, there's another young one, he's with the animals. And Samuel said, we're not going to eat. Watch. We're not going to eat until he arrives. There are some things that the church might not eat until somebody arrives. We're going to say that again. Let's say that again. There are some things that we might not eat as PPK until somebody arrives. Because there are men, watch. There are men who carry the grace to bend the services towards their situations. There are things that are not taught. Basically because there's nobody of that situation present. When they arrive, their situation and condition bend the service towards their situation. Because the hand of the Lord is upon them and there's something that God is moving upon them. The service changes direction completely simply because there is a David who has now arrived. Then which all of you, 7 of you could not eat. Now you will start to eat because that one whom God was looking for has arrived. Saul and his servant. There are meat of the word that